In this demo, I'm going to show you how to use Tangerine Teach on the tablet. This is the exact screen that teachers would see on their tablets. The first thing that we need to do is to add a class. So I've already registered, and now the next step is to add a class. I'll click the Add Class button. I'll give it some sample school name. Let's say this is grade 1. Underneath here we will see all curriculums available to be assigned to a class. I'll say that this is, since it's grade 1, it's both language and mathematics course. I click submit. Once we have created a class, we now have this button that represents the actual class with both of the curriculums in it. The next step is to assign or to create students. So I'm going to do add student. I'll say this is just S1 for student 1, gender, and we have the user on the main dashboard. I'm going to add one more user, S2, one more student, sorry, 12, oops, gender 12. Now we see both students. The first curriculum is automatically selected for us, and you can see that this is grade 1 English, which is the first one. To switch in between curriculums, we can click the button and you can see that the title changes. Another thing that changes are the subtasks. The subtasks are all units that you are going to use to assess your students. We can see that for mathematics and for the language class they are different. I'll go back to English. You can select any one of those units at any point. They're not, you don't have to go through them in order. So let's say if I go towards unit 1, I can first assess student 2 on this unit, although it's not the first one. So let's say this is what they read correctly, and I submit that. When a student was assessed, you will see it marked like this, and those pending to be evaluated, they'll be with an empty, or the check mark will be missing. You can always return and correct if corrections are necessary, and resubmit the form for a particular student. I'll go back to letters unit 1, and let's go ahead and complete the assessment for both students. So let's say this one is a very good student, they only missed one of the letters, and the other student is not so good, but they're doing fine. I have now completed unit 1. The next logical thing would be to go to unit 2, but as I said, it's not necessary to perform those in order. There are different reports available, well, 2 reports available for now. The student subtest report, where you would see per student a sum of all tasks that they have completed. Let's actually select S2. For student 1, we see their scores for letters unit 1 and for words unit 1. You will see out of how many points, so 4 out of 8, 3 out of 4, and the total percentage. Over here, the headers are the categories. Those categories we have defined on the back end, and each task pertains to a particular category. This is how this is grouped. But the teachers only see that. If something was not completed, it will show up as empty. Also, you can change in between curriculums over here to see the full picture of a class. Another report that's available to us is the class grouping report. Here, and this is really the power of Tangerine Teach, where you would see a listing of all students and how well they did. There are 5 different categories. I should have created more students, but anyhow, we can see that the first student scored 7 out of 8, which is 88%, and they're doing great. The other one, the second student, scored only 54 out of 8, and they're in the mediocre group. When you click on one of those, you will see that here on the feedback, we actually change the text. This depends on the approach you are taking, but when we click on this, on the 50%, for example, it gives you a summary of how where the student is in terms of learning, and also advises you on steps forward as this is as a teacher. The feedback you have to code yourself and come up with the wording and steps forward for each one of the quintile percentiles that we have over here.